The Pumpkin by Cordie. Lucille was a baker from a small bakery in a small town in Oklahoma. She had a strong passion for baking that started when she was just around the age of 5. Lucille had grown up living on a farm. She had one sister named Molly who adored school and education. When Molly grew up, she became a teacher for the local school. Molly and Lucille never got along and were always in disagreements. Lucille was rolling out a blob of very thick dough to make a pumpkin pie. Pumpkin pie was in season because it was mid-October, right when the pumpkins are just right for baking. She had picked out a nice ripe pumpkin to make pie with. She set aside the pumpkin so that she could work on the dough first. Lucille pushed her short black hair out of her eyes. She pushed aside the finished dough that was laid out on a pie tray. Lucille pulled the pumpkin close to her. At that moment, the light suddenly shut off, and the pumpkin began to glow brightly. She pulled out a knife and began lowering it towards the pumpkin. As she lowered the knife, it grew brighter. As she cut into the pumpkin, her brain started to swirl. All she could see turned black. She hadn't realized the pumpkin had grown larger. The larger the pumpkin grew, the more she heard the table rattle. She heard the blue glass bowl fall and shatter. Finally, the pumpkin was so large the whole bakery shook. The pumpkin started to shrink back down to normal size, but Lucille was still hypnotized under the pumpkin spell. Days later, Lucille disappeared and no one ever found her. Ever.